Welcome to Basic and Bookish Podcast, where today we are recapping A Court of Silver Flames, Book 5 of the ACOTAR series by Sarah J Maas. I'm Kinsey.
And I'm Karly. Join us as we enter the Maasverse, preparing for the highly anticipated release of ACOTAR 6 through 8.
This is part of our Massive Maasverse Mayhem Crash Course season, where we will cover favorite ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, and Crescent City moments, world building and lore breakdowns, ACOTAR 6 theories, and more before the sequel's release on October 27th, 2026. And once ACOTAR 6 is here, we'll be right back by your side to recover from the inevitable cliff-hangover before ACOTAR 7's release on January 12th, 2027. And yes, we will be updating our theories between releases.
And with that, content warning and spoiler alert, this episode is full of ACOTAR Book 5, A Court of Silver Flames spoilers, like literally all of them. So if you haven't read the book, go do that first, and we'll be here waiting for you when you get back. Since ACOTAR 6 through 8 is one story arc split into 4 parts, we will be splitting this recap into parts just like the book to help us better understand Sarah's pacing.
Due to the nature of this book, this podcast is obviously rated R in content and language. If you'd like to skip the ads and have access to full video formats, it's available now on Patreon. That link can be found in our show notes.
Now prepare to dive into the cauldron because we're entering the Maasverse.
Nesta is drinking, gambling, and fucking her way through Valaris, and it is starting to become evident that she is unwell. After witnessing the death of her father, Nesta has spiraled into depression and self-loathing. Feyre and Elaine are concerned for their sister's well-being. The inner circle is concerned about how Nesta's actions look bad for them. And Nesta is mostly concerned with how to guilt her sister into continuing to pay for her own destruction.
However, after the world's cringiest intervention, Nesta is sent to live in the House of Wind. She is now required to work in the library with Clotho, train with Cassian, and worst of all, to live in a now wine-free home. If she refuses these conditions, her only option is to be sent back to the human lands.
I mean, there's still a lot of whining happening, just not the alcohol kind.
Yeah.
While not a prisoner to the House of Wind, the only way into town where the wine lives, she must walk down all 10,000 steps of the stairs. Since Nesta hasn't exactly been doing cardio, unless sex counts, this is not a viable option for her.
Counts for me. Anyways, the inner circle has not been what you would call sympathetic to Nesta's months-long crash out, but they have had their own problems to address. Cassian has been working closely with the Illyrians to quell dissent amongst their ranks and has become the one communicating with Vassa, Jurian, and Lucian.
Whew.
Yeah. Eris warns them that Baron has made an alliance with Brialyn, the queen who was turned into a withered crone by the cauldron.
Oh.
Yeah. Eris has had some soldiers mysteriously go missing. Asriel is sent to spy on Brialyn, and Mor has been attempting to secure a peace treaty with Valahan, a previous ally of Hybern.
Essentially, with one war behind them, another one is possible with Hybern's previous allies, so it's an all-hands-on-deck situation. Cassian attempts to start training with Nesta at Windhaven, the Illyrian war camp, but she sits through the entire session, refusing to train. While in Windhaven, Nesta visits a shop to find warmer gear for training and meets Emery. Nesta learns that Emery has taken over her father's store after he died in the war against Hybern. The Illyrians don't believe she should run the store since she is a female, and they refuse to shop there. Boo.
Boo. Despite Nesta refusing to train, she does help Clotho reshelve books in the library. There she meets Gwyn, a former priestess who was attacked when Hybern ransacked her temple looking for pieces of the cauldron. She was saved by Asriel and offered shelter in the library. Cassian finally gets Nesta to start training with him by moving the training from the Illyrian war camp to outside the House of Wind and offering her any favor she wants in the future. Despite the bargain being for 1 hour of training, Nesta continues on for the full 2 hours and continues to participate going forward.
When Nesta is working in the library, she assists Gwyn in locating a lost book for the priestess Meryl. Nesta asks the seemingly sentient magic that lives in the House of Wind and the library, and it locates the book for her. Nesta asks Gwyn about what Meryl is researching and learns that Meryl is focused on 2 main topics: theories of multiple realms and the possibility that there are 26 realms, with the 26th realm being time itself. If you are taking notes, this will become important later. And the Valkyrie, which was an elite all-female clan of warriors that had all since died.
Cassian meets with Eris and learns that Baron wants to claim the Spring Court territory for himself, since Tamlin is now mostly living in his beast form and has left the manor in ruins, which means that keeping their alliance with Eris is even more imperative.
As Cassian and Nesta continue to train together, they grow closer and talk more. Nesta shares that she felt the darkness at the bottom of the library following her, even though Bryaxis is gone now, and wonders whether some of it still lingers there. Cassian shares with her some of the monsters he has had to face, including Lanthus, one of the first gods that he managed to trick and trap into the prison.
I'm sure that won't bite them later.
No.
Despite being willing to train, Nesta continues to deny the existence of any powers she now has from being Fae and won't train them. Nesta asks about the Valkyrie and learns that Cassian fought alongside them in the first human-Fae war. He tells her about the Illyrian blood rite that all the male warriors must go through when they come into their full power in their 20s. The warriors are left on the sacred mountain Romiel. They have no powers and their wings are bound. The goal is to scale the mountain, but simply surviving the week is considered passing the test. No one, including Rhys, is allowed to interfere with the blood rite.
Inspired by the Valkyrie and by how training has helped her own mental health, Nesta puts up a sign-up sheet in the library so that priestesses can join training if they want. To her disappointment, no one signs up immediately. Elaine comes to visit Nesta, and it turns into a huge fight because Nesta believes Elaine chose Feyre over her. Elaine leaves in tears, and Nesta attempts to flee down the stairs, but can't make it and has to turn around because, for some inexplicable reason, going up the stairs is easier than going down. Cassian is waiting for her at the top and shares with her what he did to the people who hurt his mom, aka he fucking killed them all.
Yeah.
The weeks of bickering and tension between Cassian and Nesta finally break when they kiss. Cassian gets just a little too excited before things could get too far.
Nesta and Cassian join the inner circle for a meeting where Azriel informs them that Brialyn is trying to find the cauldron to restore her youth. She is being aided by the Death Lord Koschei, who has instructed her to locate the Dread Trove. The Dread Trove are ancient objects of immense power made by the cauldron and consists of 3 items. The mask, which, if worn, allows you to summon the dead. The crown, which can allow the wearer to control anyone near them. And the harp, which has the ability to open any door, including the ones between worlds. Though there are rumors of a 4th object, no one knows what it could be.
Azriel believes it is possible that Brialyn has taken Eris's missing soldiers, but doesn't know why. Amren believes Nesta can find the trove, but Nesta fears what the cauldron will do to her after she stole from it. When Elaine tries to volunteer, Nesta suggests Feyre look for it. However, Feyre can't risk it and reveals she's pregnant. So Nesta agrees to try to find the trove. Nesta enlists Gwyn's help in researching the Dread Trove in the library, and eventually Gwyn also joins Nesta for training, which brings us to part 2.
Nesta also extends an invitation to Emery to join the training, which she accepts, and the 3 of them train together, eventually using Valkyrie techniques that Gwyn learns about through her research with Meryl. Nesta attempts to scry to find the trove, but it does not work. It brings back bad memories of the cauldron, and Nesta has a nightmare that causes her powers to surface in her sleep. Rhys attempts to wake her through her mind, but it takes both him and Cassian to get through to Nesta and settle her power that not even Rhys can control. And that is because her power she stole from the cauldron is death.
Oh my god!
Dun dun dun!
Rhys confides in Cassian that his unborn child has wings and that since Feyre is not Illyrian, it is highly likely she will die in childbirth. Rhys has been too scared to tell Feyre and is trying to find a solution. Cassian later shares this information with Nesta, because that's totally not going to bite them in the butt.
Nope.
Nesta decides to try to scry again, and when she is unable to release the bones from her hand, Cassian kisses her to bring her back to herself. In front of everybody, mind you. They learn that the mask is hidden in the Bog of Urid, which is located in the middle, an essentially lawless land no one is allowed to rule.
Nesta, Cassian, and Azriel head to the bog in hopes of locating the mask. As they fly overhead to see if Nesta can sense anything, they lose Azriel, who was felled by an ash arrow and is now surrounded by the previously missing Autumn Court soldiers. Cassian leaves Nesta a safe distance away and goes back to help Azriel.
As Nesta waits for Cassian to return, she grows concerned and attempts to look for him, but is grabbed by a Kelpie and dragged underwater. Cassian and Azriel manage to kill all but 2 of the Autumn Court soldiers, who they capture for questioning. The soldiers have glassy eyes, and clearly something is wrong with them. Cassian and Azriel go to find Nesta, but now realize she is missing and begin searching for her.
The Kelpie has pulled Nesta to the bottom of the bog and kisses her as it rips her weapons away. Nesta notices a glowing golden object and reaches for it, realizing it is the mask. She puts it on. Nesta rises from the water with the decapitated head of the Kelpie and an army of risen from the dead soldiers. She pulls the mask from her face and collapses.
Ayo. They return to Rhysand's palace, where Nesta is dropped off for nap time as Amren, Feyre, and the Bat Boys interrogate, aka torture, the 2 Autumn Court survivors, who yield nothing. It's like the missing soldiers are bewitched, not even aware of what's going on. Taking a break from the hard work of torture, they go check on the mask and find Nesta is awake and broke through Rhys's protective wards over the mask because like calls to like. Remember that phrase? Nesta tells them the mask needs to be destroyed. What she doesn't tell them is that it made her feel nothing at all. She shares her memory of the Kelpie encounter with Rhysand, and Amren and Rhysand translate that the Kelpie wanted to take Nesta as its bride before killing her. Pretty gross.
That's so gross.
I was cringing so hard.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Despite Nesta's pleas, the mask can't be destroyed, just like the cauldron. Rhys decides to recruit Helian's help to teach Nesta to ward the mask since she's the only one who can use it. After a much-needed bath to rinse off the bog water, I would need several personally.
Yeah.
Cassian and Nesta have what they both describe as the best sex of their lives, and yet they're still too scared to cuddle, and Cassian books it out of there. Nesta continues her training with Gwyn and Emery, with more priestesses joining every session, and Azriel eventually being brought in as a second teacher. Gwen mentions that the Valkyries used to train their mind through meditation. The girls decide to train this way in secret, and after meditating, Nesta feels good in her own skin for the first time.
In a challenge, Cassian has Nesta begin training with a practice sword. She gets into a battle rhythm, thinking, never again will she be a victim. At this pivotal moment, the others decide to also begin training with practice swords. Using never again as her mantra, Nesta leaves training and attempts to climb the stairs, reaching the 6,000th step, making considerable progress. A few days later, Nesta joins Cassian to visit a village outside Velaris. He wants Nesta to learn how blades are crafted so she can respect the blades as art and not just as killing tools. The blacksmith teaches Nesta how he creates his weapons, and she handles the blacksmith's swords almost as good as she handles Cassian's sword.
Ayo! Back in Velaris, Helian arrives via Pegasus to check out the Autumn Court soldiers and build wards for the mask. Rhysand reveals Feyre is pregnant, and Helian promises to search his libraries for a solution. When Helian declares the Autumn Court prisoners have been influenced, everyone realizes Briellen already has the crown. They tell Helian about the Dread Trove. He reacts negatively to the mask's power and wards it quickly with a drop of Nesta's blood, then teaches Rhysand how to unlock the wards if necessary.
Knowing that Briellen has the crown, Azriel wants to spy on her, but Rhys and Feyre forbid it, upsetting Azriel. While Az is moping, Cassian and Nesta attempt to have a House of Wind book club that quickly turns from war books to Spice Fest, leading to the iconic put your hands on the headboard scene.
Yeah! The next morning, Cassian, Az, and Amren are summoned to Rhysand's office. When Nesta worked with the blacksmiths, she somehow made and imbued the weapons with her power. Something that hasn't been done in ages, and created a new trove of nightmares. The last made sword, Gwydion, vanished when the Dread Trove went missing. After a quick vote, it's agreed that Cassian will be allowed to tell Nesta of her newfound abilities.
They also decide that none of them should use her weapons, but that doesn't stop the Bat Boys from sneaking a peek and unsheathing the swords. Amren claims that Rhys can rule Prythian as High King and unite the realm against Briellen by wielding these swords, but he doesn't have a desire to rule as king. Amren claims it's no coincidence the Trove and made weapons are returning to Prythian once more, and that if you don't use it, you lose it.
So true. Rhys closes the meeting by sharing that there's no luck with Feyre's pregnancy. His friends Draken and Miriam and Thesan from the Dawn Court have only dealt with flexible wings that don't kill non-winged mothers, and their techniques won't work on Illyrian wings. Feyre is SOL, but doesn't have a clue her health is in jeopardy because Rhys doesn't want her to be afraid. Right now, he's hoping Helion will find answers.
Cassian and Nesta leave the Night Court for a meeting with Eris in spring to discuss his missing now found soldiers. Eris is rightfully upset that most of his men were killed, despite them wielding forbidden weapons against Asriel. While they argue and Eris insists more of his men are missing, everyone's favorite beast shows up to crash the party. Tamlin, in beast form, threatens to kill them for trespassing, and Nesta threatens him right back with her signature death promise finger point. Tamlin calls her a witch, and they GTFO before he can gossip about Eris being their ally. Nesta can't sleep after their meeting and goes to the library, where she sees a movement of black smoke, but never finds out what it is.
I'm sure that isn't suspicious at all.
Nope.
Back at training, Cassian decides to integrate Valkyrie techniques with his Illyrian lessons since he knew what the girls were up to with their meditations. They decide they'll create a new age of Valkyries. In a not-so-subtle way, Cassian asks Nesta what she would name a blade, then reveals that she created a new trove with those weapons from the blacksmith. He also reveals they voted on whether or not they should tell her. Nesta, being petty, demands to know who voted against her. To no surprise, it was Rhys and Amren. Nesta feels betrayed by Amren, and in a fit of rage, she leaves training and heads for the stairs. Finally making it to the bottom of the 10,000 steps, rage will carry you far, she heads straight to Amren's loft.
Amren sends Varian away while she and Nesta argue. Nesta is upset that Amren chose Feyre over her, which Amren denies, and let's be honest, that's pretty insecure. Feyre appears, summoned by Varian, and in a really fucked up move made out of anger, Nesta tells Feyre that she and her baby are doomed to die and that everyone knows what is keeping it from her, including her mate. Feyre is heartbroken, but Nesta can't take back her mistake, so she leaves Amren's apartment.
While this was going on, Cassian followed Nesta down the 10,000 steps and found Rhys, who was getting a mental play-by-play from Feyre. Rhys tells Cassian to get Nesta out of the city before Rhys kills her for what she's done to Feyre.
Which leads to the worst camping experience of Nesta's life so far. As part of her punishment, she and Cassian go hiking while everyone else cools off. The entire time, Nesta believes she's worthless and shouldn't exist, but Cassian specifically chose the spot because Moore told him it's a healing place. On the 5th day, they arrive at a lake, and Nesta breaks down and sobs, blaming herself for her father's death, claiming that she'll always live with guilt and can never fix Feyre, her father, or herself. Nesta and Cassian have a heart-to-heart, with Nesta ultimately moving towards healing, and Cassian instructs her to train with the sword in 8-pointed star formation. Not with a practice sword, but with a real one.
Which brings us to part 3. Cassian and Nesta spend another 2 days sword playing, aka fucking like animals, and Gwyn and Emery are jealous by the time Nesta returns for training. Gwyn sets up a ribbon in the training ring, claiming that their training as a Valkyrie is complete once they can cleanly slice the ribbon in half. Gwyn invites Nesta to attend a concert with the priestesses. As Nesta attends the priestess service, she's entranced by the ancient music, accidentally scrying with her own bones and the rock of the mountain to find the harp awake and in the prison.
Nesta tells Cassian, who tells Rhys Sand, and they form a plan. Rhys will lower the shields and spells on the prison so Cassian and Nesta can enter, and Rhys instructs Cassian to take Nesta's maid sword to see what it might do if Nesta has to use it. Cassian and Nesta find the harp in a strange room where the interior designer carved the floor with constellations, along with other ancient markings they don't recognize. Nesta touches the harp and sees a vision of Fae trapped behind a stone wall. The vision then shifts to Brialyn, who sees Nesta and knows she now has the harp. Brialyn threatens to hurt Nesta's friends with her spies. While they talk, Nesta is trapped by the sentient harp, which discloses her location to Brialyn.
Nesta frees herself by plucking one of the harp strings and tells Cassian they need to leave ASAP before Autumn Court soldiers steal it. As they're leaving, Nesta shares that she named her sword Ataraxia from the old language. Then they realize the harp lowered the nearby prison wards and freed Lanthus, an immortal death god Cassian had previously imprisoned. Nesta and Cassian challenge and kill Lanthus.
During the fight, Lanthus shares what the harp can do, claiming everything claims fealty to the harp, even seasons and kingdoms, and that the wielder can move through space and time depending on the combination of strings that are plucked. That's crazy. Lanthus showed Nesta visions of what her life could be if she joins him as a death god, and Nesta briefly saw the 4th missing trove item, veiled in shadow, gleaming of age-worn bone. She broke from his vision to wield ataraxia, beheading Lanthus and spewing his strange black blood. Pause for dramatic effect. Somehow, Nesta just killed that which cannot be killed, and the other prisoners feel Lanthus's death.
Taking this as their cue to leave, Nesta plucks 3 strings on the harp to transport them back to Valaris in front of Rhysand's river house. Nesta and Feyre have a sisterly heart-to-heart in which Nesta apologizes and is forgiven by Feyre, and they try to figure out what to do next. They can't ward the harp and mask together because that makes it too easy for Briallen to steal.
All right, listeners, buckle up for an important history lesson. Lanthus had mentioned being part of the Wild Hunt, and when Nesta asks Rhys about this, we learned a few, aka way too many, interesting facts. Fae were created by the Daglin, beings who were near gods and monsters. A Fae hero named Fionn overthrew the Daglin with the last maid sword, Gwydion. Gwydion was dipped into the cauldron by the High Priestess Oleana, and she's the one who gave Fionn the sword. Fionn unified the Fae territories and ruled as High King for a millennium. He was the first and only High King this land has ever had. Write that down because that sounds an awful lot like foreshadowing. Fionn was later betrayed by his queen and his general, who happened to be his friend, a horrible one at that. The two of them killed Fionn, took his bloodline's most powerful and precious weapons, with 7 High Lords and the courts rising in the chaos. The Fae at that time went on a witch hunt to kill or imprison the Daglin, and Amren was thrown into the prison, feared to be one of them.
As for the Wild Hunt, we learn the Daglin used it to keep Fae and humans in line. Essentially, the Daglin gathered their most merciless warriors to hunt and kill whoever they wanted, with their hounds running prey to the ground. Those hounds look like the beasts carved into Hewn City.
Rhys believes the 4th object Nesta saw in her vision is a rumor because history only confirms 3 Dread Trove items. Because history is always right. Mm-hmm. Now that they have 2 Trove items, they want to go after the crown, but need a secure war alliance in order to do so.
Which is where Eris comes in. He will be joining them for winter solstice, and Rhys wants Nesta to seduce Eris with her sick dance moves to show him what he might gain from their alliance. Surprisingly, Nesta agrees to do it, if only to keep Elaine from dancing with Eris. Nesta asks Cassian to accompany her to the Archeron sisters' cottage and shares what life was like for them in their hovel, admitting that she hated her father and treated him horribly. Nesta finds old wood carvings made by her father and saves them before leaving the cottage forever.
A month goes by with Nesta continuing her training with Cassian and practicing dance moves with Mor, who's finally back from the continent, to prepare for the winter solstice. Mor goes to the library with Nesta, where Nesta is surprised to see Emery exploring the library. This might be the beginning of a budding romance because Emery comments on how beautiful Mor is. Please.
Gwyn gives Nesta and Emery an early winter solstice gift. Since Meryl is researching the Valkyrie, Gwyn had Meryl write about them in the final chapter of her book. Later, Nesta asks the House of Wind to light a fire and uses mind-stealing techniques to recover from the PTSD of her father's death. Nesta then finds and follows a trail of evergreen twigs from the house down to the pit of the library. She realizes the darkness of the library is the heart of the House of Wind. All this time, the house was trying to lead the priestesses there too, and Nesta realizes her heart is similar to the house.
At winter solstice celebrations, Feyre finally announces her pregnancy by wearing a revealing dress in Hewn City. Eris is given a sneaky gift from Rhysand, the dagger Nesta made, and Rhys claims it's an old family heirloom, because that won't lead to anything dangerous. As Eris and Nesta dance, Eris urges Nesta to not believe all the lies they tell about him, hinting that Mor is hiding the truth about their past because she's afraid, which is really strange considering Mor wields the power of truth.
As Nesta slays on the dance floor, Cassian works up the nerve to interrupt her dance with Eris. It's like middle school all over again. In a move to impress his crush, Cassian secretly took dance lessons with Mor for weeks. Ladies, if he wanted to, he would.
Period.
As Cassian and Nesta dance, Eris decides this is the perfect time to ask Rhysand for Nesta's hand in marriage, declaring he'd rather have Nesta than her dagger. Eris is willing to give Rhysand whatever he wishes in exchange, but Rhysand wisely says he will speak to Nesta first.
God, could you imagine if he's just like, arranged marriage?
Done.
Oh, dude. Court would be over. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, the inner circle moved the winter solstice celebrations to the river house, enjoying family time without Eris in the Court of Nightmares. Lucian is there, but mostly avoided by Elaine, who finally speaks to Nesta after their fight. Cassian waits to give Nesta her solstice gift, just in case she rejects him like last year. At the end of the night, Cassian gives Nesta a symphonia, which is essentially a music player. Touched by the thoughtful gift, they lower their shields and take each other to bed, feeling a connection between each other. Nesta decides she can't marry Eris because she and Cassian are meant for each other. Aww. And after spicy time is over, they cuddle throughout the night, a first in their situationship.
Cassian leaves for his annual snowball fight and runs errands over the next few days, which leaves Nesta hot and bothered. Only able to distract herself with fingers for so long, she invites Gwyn and Emery for a sleepover at the House of Wind. The house entertains them by granting whatever they wish, from romance novels to bathtubs filled entirely with bubbles. Gwyn brought friendship bracelet kits with her, and Nesta wishes over the charm that they'll always be able to find each other. And just like her made weapons, the charm glows briefly, imbued with Nesta's magic. When Cassian returns, Gwyn is the first to cut the Valkyrie ribbon, and Nesta ties the severed white ribbon around Gwyn's head. Emery is next, and Nesta follows, and even more priestesses cut the ribbon, symbolizing a new age of Valkyries. This leads to Cassian and Azriel creating an obstacle course that changes daily. 2 months later, Nesta, Gwyn, and Emery complete the obstacle course in front of Lord Devlin and learn that it's the Blood Right qualifier. If they want to, they're allowed to compete in the Blood Right to be considered real Illyrian warriors. The girls decide they'd rather be Valkyries.
Running on a high from her training, Nesta descends the steps once more and makes it all the way to the bottom. Instead of exploring Valaris to celebrate her freedom, she climbs the stairs to join Starfall festivities. A few of the Inner Circle's friends are there attending Starfall, including Callias and his mate Vivian, who are also expecting a child. Nesta approaches Amryn and apologizes. Amryn forgives her and notes that Nesta changed and made the house. Amryn can feel the difference in its magic, and she claims it's because Nesta wished for a friend. Spring arrives, and there's no news on Briallen. Moods aren't improved as a rare red star blasts across the sky and is taken as an ill omen. Even Rhys is rattled by the star, and the end of Feyre's pregnancy looms closer.
Eris requests another meeting with Nesta and Cassian, who meet him in the middle. As a side note, Eris is wearing Nesta's made dagger. Eris gives Nesta a brief history lesson on their 3 sacred mountains, the Middle, Romiel, and the Prison. He notes it's strange that 2 of those mountains have underground palaces, but the Illyrians never bothered to explore Romiel. Moving on from his history lesson, Eris reveals that his father visited Briallen on the continent and he believes the war is imminent. He insists they need to find the harp as soon as possible, and that's when Nesta accidentally reveals that they already have it. Eris, peeved they kept that info from him, warns them to not go after the crown because that leaves the door open for Briallen to steal the other 2 trove items from them.
Cassian and Nesta take the scenic route home, and as they walk throughout Valaris, Cassian attempts PDA. But Nesta shrugs him off. Frustrated, Cassian tells Nesta to say it out loud. And Nesta knows what he is. He's her mate, but she refuses to acknowledge it. They argue, and Cassian is a fool who says he, quote, didn't have a choice in being shackled to Nesta. Brother!
You know, I don't know that was the direction he wanted to take that in that moment.
Say it out loud. You're a douchebag. Okay.
Nesta calls in her old bargain with Cassian, sending him away, and decides to have a girls' night at Emery's house. However, in the middle of the night, they're abducted and forced to participate in the Blood Rite. Nesta's new worst camping experience of her life. Rhys and Cassian realize too late the next morning.
And now we are in the final part of this book, part 4. Thank God. Cassian wants to save Nesta, but ancient law dictates that they can't interfere or else they'll all be executed. The Valkyries' only option at this point is to survive. While Cassian's panicking about the girls being taken, Azriel reveals that Eris was also captured, except by Briallen, and insists that he has to go rescue Eris.
Rhys uses this as a perfect moment to reveal that he and Feyre made a death pact at the end of the war with Hybern, and it's too risky for Rhysand to join Eris's rescue mission, as this can endanger Feyre's life. Amren calls them idiots. Same. And everyone realizes that if Feyre dies in childbirth, which is highly likely at this point, then Rhysand goes down too. Honestly, it was a really bad idea.
Since Faye Sand are out of commission and Amren no longer has her powers, this defaults Cassian to the rescue team. Cassian argues that they should let Eris die, but Feyre points out that Briallen could use the crown to divulge their secrets. Their only hope at this point is that Eris is still wearing Nesta's dagger and that the made item will make him immune to the crown's power.
Meanwhile, Nesta wakes in the Bloodright, unarmed, only wearing her nightgown. The goal is to survive and reach the peak of Romiel, but she's nowhere near the mountain. She faces multiple Illyrians, chases after weapons that shouldn't be allowed in the right, has an outfit change, and uses the power of friendship, aka her charmed bracelet, to locate her friends. Emery is found unconscious in a river, and an Illyrian named Balthazar helps Nesta find a cave for shelter. He swears an oath that he won't kill Nesta or her friends since he knows she's the High Lady's sister. After an uncomfortable night hiding in the cave, Balthazar goes off on his own where he's never seen again, while Emery and Nesta search for Gwyn.
On the other side of the sea, Cassian learns that Eris was taken to Briallen's castle 2 nights prior, but will be transported somewhere soon. Cassian and Azriel will wait for this opportunity to save Eris.
Back in the Bloodright, the girls follow their charm bracelets to search for Gwyn, but are led directly into a trap set by Emery's cousin, Bellius, who found Gwyn's nightgown. With glassy eyes suggesting he's under the crown's influence, Bellius reveals that he placed weapons in the Bloodright. A creature attacks the warriors, and Gwyn appears as the males fight the creature. After running to safety, Gwyn shares that she led the beast to Bellius's camp.
Days pass, and Emery explains technicalities of the rite to her non-Illyrian friends. What the Bat Boys accomplished is rare, and they'll be lucky if they make it to the Pass of Annalius in one piece. We get yet another history lesson, there's so many in this book, of a battle fought against the Fae and their oppressors, likely the Daglin, in that pass. Annalius defended the stone at the top of Romiel and held the line until allies arrived. Annalius died in the battle, and the rite is meant to honor him and his defense of the natural archway. Now, the path is called the Breaking, and it's the most difficult path to the top. It's how the Bat Boys made it to the top, so naturally it's where the Valkyries will go too.
They battle more warriors, and Gwyn is injured in the process. By the time they reach Romiel, there's only 1 day left in the rite, which means they have to climb Romiel in record time. The girls have a heart-to-heart in which they share their past traumas. Gwyn's twin sister and other priestesses were killed in a Hybern attack while Gwyn rescued children from their temple. As punishment for saving the children, Gwyn was assaulted by a Hybern commander before Azriel showed up. Emery was beaten by her father like her mother was, and Emery dug her mother's grave while her father lied about the origins of her death. Nesta shares what happened to her father and the fallout. At this moment, they decide they're not going to rest here and wait it out. They're going to win the whole thing. So they begin the climb to the top.
Cassian and Azriel follow Eris and Briallen to a lake where they're ambushed by Eris. He tries to act like a traitor to the Night Court, but they realize he's under Briallen's control. Eris leads them to a lake with who they thought was Briallen, but when the cloaked figure removes their hood, it's revealed to be a kernel of magic belonging to Kosjay, who greets them from the lake.
Meanwhile, the girls make it to the Pass of Annalius, but they're being chased by Bellius and 6 others. Gwyn's injury slowed them down, and recognizing that Gwyn will insist on fighting together, Nesta knocks Gwyn out and tells Emery to carry her the rest of the way up. Nesta stays behind to defend the pass, killing the warriors as Bellius waits to fight her last. She wonders how this fight would be if she had her sword Ataraxia with her. Apparently, Ataraxia means inner peace in the old language.
She definitely needed that.
Yeah.
Azriel demands to know where Briallen is, but Kosjay ignores the question and says he's spent months preparing for them, so they should want to speak with him. Tipped off by his shadows, Azriel yells at Cassian to run, grabs Eris with Nesta's maid dagger along with him, and books it out of there. But Cassian is trapped as Briallen emerges from behind the trees, wielding the crown, and says she has use of Cassian. Koschei winnows them away.
Nesta faces off against Bellius. At this point, Emery and Gwyn make it to the top and are winnowed to safety. Bellius claims he doesn't want to win the right. He just wants to kill Nesta. A vicious storm brews as they fight, and despite her waning strength, Nesta believes she can win because her mate taught her well, finally accepting that Cassian is her mate.
As Bellius closes in on Nesta, Romuald shakes and Cassian suddenly appears, killing Bellius. Nesta lowers her guard to embrace Cassian, who whispers that he's going to slit her throat. This is when Brialyn shows herself to Nesta and seizes the storm, revealing that she can influence anything with the crown. Cassian is watching all of this unfold as he silently begs Nesta to run, to kill him before he accidentally kills her.
Brialyn shares her villain speech about how she influenced the Illyrians to capture the Valkyries and cheat during the rite, blah, blah, blah. Her plan was to have Nesta wear herself out during the rite, and Brialyn waited to have control of Cassian so Nesta would be forced to hand over the trove rather than kill her own mate. Brialyn claims she wants to use the trove to make herself young again and made sure that Nesta knew parts of her plan so Brialyn wouldn't have to collect the trove herself. However, Nesta can scent the lie on Brialyn, and even Cassian manages to break through Brialyn's control to tell Nesta not to do it.
Brialyn urges Nesta to summon the items, but Nesta refuses, so Brialyn orders Cassian to kill, claiming she'll just take Nesta's blood for the wards and control someone else in the Night Court to surrender the trove. Cassian fights against Brialyn's command, realizing she didn't clarify who to kill, and he turns the dagger on himself. This causes Nesta to unleash the power of the cauldron, unmaking Brialyn and wiping her from existence. Cassian is unharmed and they kiss, calling each other mates. Aww, but don't relax yet because there's more drama.
Mor and Azriel winnow to retrieve them, saying Eris is safe, but Feyre is dying. She's delivering the baby early and losing a lot of blood. Madja is trying her best, but the baby is stuck in the birth canal. Knowing it will kill her and Rhysand, thanks Death Bond, but potentially save the baby, Feyre commands Madja to cut the baby out.
Rhys says goodbye to Feyre and takes away her pain as Madja performs the procedure. The baby is removed and handed to Mor, lifeless. Rhysand is freaking the fuck out, crying, lunging for Feyre as she's bleeding out, screaming as if his soul is being shredded, and the world begins to slow. Elaine pleads with Feyre to hold on, and Cassian and Azriel restrain Rhysand.
This is when Nesta can sense death in the room, waiting to take Feyre and Rhysand. Nesta closes her eyes and opens her soul to the power of the cauldron. Golden light erupts as Nesta teleports and is now wearing the mask and crown with the harp in hand. Nobody has ever wielded all three items and survived. Her eyes blaze with silver fire as she plucks the final string on the harp.
Time stops, pausing Feyre's final breath. Nesta commands the mask to halt the death of Feyre, Rhysand, and the baby. A woman speaks to Nesta, asking if Nesta knows what she must do. Nesta knows and chooses to embrace life and feel pain instead of emptiness. For the first time in her life, Nesta tells Feyre she loves her.
The harp string wavers and Nesta begs the mother, the cauldron, to show her how to wield her power of death. Time resumes, and Nesta promises the cauldron that she'll give it all back. She embraces Feyre, saying over and over that she'll give it all back, and iridescent light from the cauldron flows inside Nesta, Feyre, and the baby, saving their lives and changing their anatomy.
The mask and crown fall from Nesta as her promise is inked upon her skin, a bargain made with the cauldron itself, and Cassian swears a luminescent, gentle hand prevents all the light from leaving her body.
Feyre tells Nesta she loves her too. The baby wails, and Feyre and Rhysand cry over their newborn son. In gratitude, Rhysand bows to Nesta, and Nesta kneels to embrace Rhysand as her brother. Now they're all a happy family.
We are family. Sorry.
With the drama subsided, Nesta reunites with her now healed friends as Mor returns the trove to its wards. Romuald's sacred stone transported Gwen and Emery to the river house after winning the rite, but instead of going by Illyrian traditions, they declare themselves Valkyries.
Nesta returns to the birthing room where Cassian is holding Nyx. He transfers the baby to Azriel and follows Nesta outside the room. Cassian asks if Nesta's power is truly gone, and although Nesta meant to exchange it for the knowledge on how to save them, a little of her power still remains. She believes the mother stopped the cauldron from taking all of her power, and Nesta made changes so she and Feyre both have a Lyrian anatomy and won't run the risk of dying in childbirth. Again. Notably, she doesn't grant this favor to Elaine.
Nesta declares she doesn't want power. She only wants Cassian and a disgustingly ornate mating ceremony. Cassian protests that Azriel and Mor will tease him, so Nesta offers stale biscuits instead. Suddenly, the idea of an elaborate mating ceremony doesn't seem so bad. They'll wait and deal with the trove, Koschei, Nesta's connection to the mother, and everything else later.
Days later, Cassian visits Eris and learns that Baron tortured his son for information, but Eris held their alliance a secret. Cassian asks Eris why he abandoned Mor, and Eris defensively says he only owes Mor an explanation and warns Cassian that his father might try to be an ally with Koschei. Before leaving, Cassian tells Eris he's not a monster and Eris might even be a good male, but he's too cowardly to act like it.
Finally, the story ends with the Archeron sisters and Nyx walking through Valaris. Nesta and Cassian's mating ceremony is 3 days away, and as thanks for Nesta saving their lives, Rhys is busy working as their party planner, making it the most extravagant ceremony Valaris has ever seen. As mating presents, Rhys gifts Nesta the House of Wind, and Feyre painted Nesta defending the Pass of Annalius.
The sisters reach their destination, visiting their father's grave together for the first time. After Feyre introduces Nyx and Elaine speaks to their father's tombstone, Nesta is given privacy to approach her father's grave. She understands now that her father died for her out of love. With Cassian soaring overhead, Nesta places her father's wood-carved rose onto his gravestone and thanks him, then returns to her sisters. And we hope you guys like this recap because that's the last one we will be making for the Massverse.
Yes, it is. All right. And this is where we leave you today, Basic Book Besties. Thank you so much for listening. Please leave us a review and join us for our next episode where we are discussing our favorite moments, foreshadowing, and characters from A Court of Silver Flames.
If you need more bookish content, we have 4 ongoing seasons. There's a crash course season for the Massverse. Duh, you're in it right now. 4th Wing deep dive topics, fun author interviews, and our Book Bestie chats featuring spice ratings, our thoughts on recent adaptations, discussions on our current reads, and more. Our Massverse Season 2 content releases weekly on Thursdays, while our other seasons release episodes sporadically on Tuesdays.
You can check out our website, basicandbookishpod.com, for info about our contact form, upcoming seasons, which authors we have scheduled next, events we're attending, and more. We've linked that down in the show notes.
You can join us over on Patreon, where you can access all of our episodes ad-free, 3 days early, and in full video. Plus extras like exclusive book club access, with our next quarterly book club being Monday, June 22nd. Shoutouts on the show, and a PDF play-by-play recap of ACOTAR books 2 to 5. Although the 5th book might have a little bit of gaps in it because I switched between audio and regular, but it still exists. Okay. You'll find our Patreon link in the show notes, along with all the ways you can support the podcast.
Don't forget to stay in the loop by following us on social media at Basic and Bookish Pod and joining us on our Discord chat. Who knows? You might just meet your next book bestie there.
We'll be back next week. Until then, prepare to crash out over ACOTAR 6 as we continue to crash course our way through the Massverse.
And now it's time for Throne of Glass.
Oh, I'm so excited. Well, not quite, because we have our discussion on Silver Flames, and then we also have our ACOTAR 6 theories.
Yeah, but that's the next book I'm reading.
Yes, I am so excited. As I continued reading Silver Flames, I just kept telling myself, Kinsey, the sooner you read this book, the sooner you can read Throne of Glass. And let me tell you, I'm stoked.
Yeah, me too.
It's been a while.
It has.